Good evening and welcome to I'm trying to go live on Instagram at the same time. That's not working. Or is it? Maybe it is. Here we go. Here we go. We're doing it. Oh my gosh. Okay, so listen, I am here tonight to tell you that I witnessed something unbelievably magical today with my brother from another mother, Glenn Morshower. And I'm going to give you a quick story. Glenn is with me. He's backstage. I'm going to bring him on here in a second. But I want to say I was invited to go over and help Cleona, the CEO of the Napoleon Hill Institute, coach her coaches. And I happened to hit Glenn up at the last minute and said, dude, can you jump on here with me? And he did. And I watched 75 to 80 people's lives completely blown apart. I mean, completely blown apart. So I'm coming at you tonight as Frankie fired up, and I'm about to bring some Kenergy, and I'm about to bring some Glenergy here in a second. I'm bringing my brother Glenn Morshower on right now, and this is going to be I have a feeling that this is going to be the most significant live stream that you ever watch, whether you're watching it live or whether you watch the recording of this, the replay. This is going to blow your mind. So hang on, because there are some big energy involved in this. And do me a favor and share this thing out. Share it out, share it out, share it out. So check this out. Glenn Morshower's in the house, ladies and gentlemen. Glenn, how you doing, man?
Buddy, I'm energized. That'll be my only really playful moment tonight. I was going to just be here like this and go, you know. But
Dude,
both of our energies are jacked up. You're Johnny jacked up. I'm Julius jacked up. I'm Frankie feel a lot. You might be Evan excited.
I'm telling you, man, I watched something unbelievable happen today that there's Joe Ingram. Would love it if you shared it out. Glenn, guilt him into sharing this, would you?
So
So I watched you do something today. I've seen and heard you talk. I've many times, and you always go to, and anybody that knows you, Joe knows you well. Anybody that knows you knows that it's one thing to have a one-on-one conversation with you, but when you get into that zone where we have these people watching right now, you get into a zone, you go to a different place. And I watched it happen today, hearing some of the same things that you talk about, but I also heard some new stuff today that I was like, OMG, I could not believe what was happening. So, Glenn, I want to ask you some questions. And the first question I'm going to ask you, you and I have an event coming up next weekend. We have about 10 VIP seats left.
that would be
And,
really
and
bad if I didn't know that we had one coming up.
it would be really bad. But my question for you is this, because I watched what you did today, and I heard some of the things that you said, and I was like, my God, that was unbelievable. Why do you think people are struggling so bad to accumulate wealth, to make a lot of money? Because look, at the end of the day, we all know, you know, that having a bunch of money sitting in the bank is a really good feeling. It gives you some freedom, right? And people want to learn how to do that and do it more and do it better, how to create a better life. What do you think? And I want your opinion. What do you think is stopping people from having it?
Well, we just had someone chime in and say they don't feel they deserve it. I don't know who Facebook user is, but I think there's a lot of truth to that. It's not the answer I would have given, but I like the answer. Ken, this is a different type of Ken and Glenn show this evening, and we didn't plan it. You said you just wanted to talk about
Yep.
what had happened earlier today. So I am going to set aside my playfulness, even though I enjoy being playful, to go in a different direction tonight. And I personally believe it's because a lot of people feel broken and they have to find a reason, and they've decided that reason is because they don't have enough money. And that somehow if they had more money, they would be less broken, which of course is not the truth at all. In fact, a lot of times the acquisition of money winds up resulting in an even bigger brokenness for this reason. You now get a hold of what you thought it is that would fix it, and then it doesn't.
Come on with it.
And now you're thinking, oh my God, what do I even do? I've spent my whole life believing that money was the answer, right? And most people believe in God, so they start with the belief that God is the answer, and that's great. But then right after it comes money,
right?
And then they learn that that's not true, and they only learn it if they finally get a whole bunch of it. And here's what's interesting: the habit of chasing money only gets exaggerated the more you chase money. And so even though you wind up with some more money, if that is how it goes, then at what point do you say, I have enough? There's a Hebrew word. The Hebrew word is called dayenu. And dayenu is sufficiency or enoughness, realizing that my life's enough. I have enough. Right now, I have enough. And whatever needs I have, those needs are being met as we speak. Whether I see that occurring or not, those needs are being met. It's going on right now, and that's called faith. When you understand that I don't have to see it to believe it, I'll actually see it when I believe it. So belief precedes sight, right? What we believe, we see. And we were falsely instructed to actually think we have to see it before we believe it. So, I would ask everybody the question, how in love with life are you? And that means not only life, it means life itself. It means your life. It means your friends' lives. It means the lives of people you walk by on the street. Are you a great respecter of this adventure you've been given to experience? And it's not only a gift, it's an assignment. And you'll hear me say this at every talk I give, Ken, is that the vast majority of people see life as a gift, but only a handful see it as an assignment. And it is only at the point where we see it as an assignment that we begin caring at a higher level about the work we turn in daily, right? That's my homework. My homework in this life is to live the life I was given really well. I see that as my job. It's an assignment. And so every day that gives me not only pep to my step, but it gives me purpose. It gives me direction. It gives me trajectory. It gives me excitement because I'm on a mission instead of merely seeing it as a gift, which is nice. It's nice. It's a very nice start to see life as a gift. But there has to be more to it than that increases our commitment to efficient living. And since the time I was very young, and I'll try to give you some shorter answers following this if you have some questions, but I've always felt connected to the purpose for which humans were designed, not only for which I was designed, but why are we even here in the first place? Which is why I can't understand so many of the outpicturings. We call that outpicturings. We call that manifestation outpicturings in metaphysics, the way things show up, they outpicture themselves. So when I look at all of the different outpicturings in life, it blows my frigging mind that this is what we've come up with as a society, as human beings. How is it we're even living this way? There are so many atrocities going on that I don't allow myself to be weighted down by them, but it certainly leaves me scratching my head that what I'm seeing is not love. It's certainly not love. And if you come from love, then that particular behavior makes no sense. It doesn't belong, and it's not making the world a better place. I mean, when's the last time the world got together to agree that we're here to make this a better place? And we don't see a lot of that. What we see a lot of is egos, and egos being threatened, even in the wellness industry, even in personal development. Some of the most insecure people I've met in my life are in personal development, and I don't mind calling them out. I'm not going to call them out by name, but I don't mind calling the industry out. That industry largely exists based on people who want to convince you, the audience, that you are somehow inferior and need them to point out the correct way to live life so that you'll be better off as long as you have them. What a good speaker would do is point out that the audience themselves have answers to every challenge they will ever face, and that they've been overlooking their own divinity. They've been overlooking their own bigness. They've been overlooking their own sensitivity, overlooking their own connectedness, overlooking their own depth, right? All of these things that people overlook because they're constantly seeking the answers outside of themselves. And this is where your original question of money comes in. Money is an answer that exists outside of oneself, and the false belief that when we obtain more of that, then everything will be fine. Fineness isn't governed from what's outside. Fineness is governed by what's inside of us. So if we can decide the simple truth of this is a good moment right now. Really, what happened? Did you get a TV series? No. Well, what happened? Did you get a big surprise check today? No. What happened? Did someone get dramatically better that was sick? Oh, we have a buddy of ours that was had a big surgery a couple of weeks ago, Nick Ogilvy, and Nick is getting better, and that brings me pleasure. But what else brings me pleasure is that I'm here with my friend Ken, and I have a pulse.
Amen.
And I have food in my belly.
I gotta ask you this. So, look, you were talking with me and my wife the other night, and your wife was there. You were talking to all of us, and she asked you a question about getting serious and on camera and talking about
right
these things, because look, you and I have a blast. We cut up, we make videos. They're funny. You're funnier than, you're just hilarious, dude. But at the end of the day, and I was thinking about this after I watched you change all those people's lives, and again, I know it wasn't you, but you pointed out to them the power that they have within themselves, and I was like, oh my God, that's what people need. They need to know how to dig in and find that. And somebody asked you a question. I'll get to that one in a minute. But the other night you were saying to my wife, and I won't do it any justice, so I'm just going to remind you and you take it from there. But you were saying that people need to not focus just on what they need to do to create change or something to that effect. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Not exactly.
But what they it's not what they need to add, but maybe things that they
yeah. I do. Now I know what you're talking about. That because that's a belief in lack, that I somehow lack something.
Right.
When I get that straightened out, then everything will be fine. And it isn't what we do or what we can add to the mix that's going to make things nearly that will improve things nearly as much as what we remove. And the truth is, it's a combination of both, but I think there's removal from societal damage that is more important than adding, because you hear a lot about, well, if I sit in a lotus position, what about that? What if I sit in a lotus position? What is the correct incense for me to light to feel good? What would be that? Right? Is it the music? Do I need to listen to something played on a sitar? Not a guitar, but a sitar. Is that what's missing? Do I need more ukulele music in my life? And the answer, and I'm poking fun not at a prototype, I'm poking fun at the very society that created that prototype. Right? That's the flaw. And so there are so many inaccurate societal downloads. And thank God I'm not attempting to speak from a script right now, because that would be really tough. This is off the cuff, from my gut, from my soul.
Yeah.
But there's so many really poor societal downloads that have us dwelling in lack if we buy into what society tells us. And so there's more undoing that needs to take place than there is doing. That's where the
Right.
real work is. The real work is really an excavation mission where you take a wrecking ball to belief systems that are not only antiquated and or outdated, but the truth is they never worked completely in the first place, but it's what someone else wanted you to believe.
Right.
It's what mom and dad wanted you to believe. It's what your minister or rabbi wanted you to believe. It's what somebody who wrote a bestseller wanted you to believe. And all a bestseller means is that a whole lot of people bought into it. I'm not knocking bestseller books. That's great. But just because something is a bestseller doesn't mean it's great. Just because there's a line of people waiting to get into a nightclub doesn't mean you going into that nightclub is going to be a wonderful experience for you. People seem to say yes to the lemming tendency of lining up to do what everybody else is doing. There's this quest, Ken, for popularity. I don't care so much about what I want to do. I just want to do what's popular, right? And if you can give up popularity and quit trying to follow the crowd and instead march to the beat of your own drum, understand that you have answers within you that will solve any challenge. You've heard me say this. I'm going to say this once more before we get to another question, if you have one. But I said this in the group today, and it really created a beautiful, palpably felt silence in the room, which is that the vast majority of the problems we get into in life come about as a direct result of a momentary lapse in the simple remembrance of exactly who it is we are. And I want to say that one more time, and I'll say it a little more slowly for anyone that might be wanting to write this down at home. The vast majority of the problems we get into in life come about as a direct result of a momentary lapse. That's all it is. It's just a momentary lapse in the simple remembrance of exactly who it is you are. Because if you practice that remembrance, if you take a deep breath the next time you're faced with some sort of fork in the road decision, I encourage you to do something that will be more effective than this, and that's to just take a breath and remember the truth about who you are. You are an unrepeatable miracle in time. I am an unrepeatable miracle in time. Breathe that in.
Dude,
Josh, you guys aren't playing around tonight.
No, we're not. And for those of you watching that are used to seeing Glenn and I we normally just banter back and forth. Tonight I said, dude, I need you to bring what you brought today, because I think people need this and they need to hear it, and they need to be at our freaking event, and they need to go right now to kenandglenn.com and buy a ticket and be a VIP get a VIP ticket so you can hang out and have dinner and lunches with us and everything else. But here's the thing. You've talked about, and my mind is going blank for some stupid reason, as many times as I've heard you talk about this, and there's been times when I could repeat it. Right now I can't, but you talk about the 4 rooms of consciousness. And here's the thing, everybody watching, you're living in a room of consciousness, whether you believe it or not, does not matter.
Most assuredly.
You don't have to believe that, but you are. I promise you. It's just like you don't have to believe in the law of gravity, but if you climb up to the 3rd floor of your home or office and jump, you will soon learn that the law of gravity is real.
No, you'll learn that it was real.
It was real. I don't know. 3rd floor, you might survive. Anyway, so you know, somebody on the call who's one of the Napoleon Hill coaches, by the way, said something to the effect of, what if you're in room 4, which is inevitability? I do know that. The other ones I don't. 1, 2, and 3. It's probably because I don't live there.
1, 2, 3, and 4 are impossibility, where the theme word is no, possibility, where the theme word is maybe, probability, where the theme word is likely, and inevitability, where the theme word is yes.
And that's 4. So she said something to the effect, Troy McLaughlin is watching over on Instagram, So is Superman is for real. Good to see you guys over there. So
Welcome, guys. Welcome, gals. All of you. Welcome.
so she said something. There's Lynn Serrano. Oh my God, Lynn,
Hi,
how are you? So
Lynn.
good to see you. So she said something about, like, what if you get stuck in, like, you are in the room of inevitability, but there's times when you're doubting that and you're stuck and you can't get out of it, and you start projecting all this negative stuff into your life. And I forget how she said it, but do you know what I'm talking about? That
Well, it's
moment.
interesting. I do know what you're talking about, Ken, but she didn't word it that way. And the reason I know it is because if she had worded it the way you just worded it, my answer would have been different. And what I would have said to her is, you're not in room 4.
Right.
That's what I would have said, because well, what if you're in room 4 and then you do this? And the answer is, they don't do that in room 4.
Right.
So that's evidence that you're not in room 4.
There you
Room
go.
4 is a place of self-assuredness. Room 4 is a place of, here's a huge word. It's a simple word, but it's huge in terms of its impactfulness. And that word is trust. So I'm going to ask the audience tonight, do you or do you not? Let me look right into the lens. Do you or do you not trust your life? Well, I mean, I do. Most no. No, that's evidence of no.
Right.
There's no such thing as partial trust. You trust or you don't trust. In that sense, it's a lot like pregnancy. Someone is either pregnant or they're not pregnant. They're not sort of pregnant. And you can't sort of trust. You trust your life, you don't trust your life. And if you trust it most of the time, it means you don't trust your life, because your life is an event that's going on that knows what it's doing. Now, whether or not you trust that, that's what's in question. But it, I promise you, knows exactly what it's doing. When we get on board that truth and harmonize it instead of getting into a combative relationship with it, then it reveals itself with ease. And this is when problem-free living becomes your normal state. That doesn't mean things don't come up, but it means that when they do, simply put, you will handle those moments better than someone who isn't trained in this way. You don't see them as problems. You see them as life presenting itself, and now it's your turn to cope with it. It's your turn to deal with it, your turn to address it. But if we see it as a problem, you know, someone, whoever this genius was that years ago said, I don't tell God how big my problems are, I tell my problems how big my God is. Here's what's beautiful about that saying. That saying works whether you believe in God or not.
Right.
I happen to believe in God profoundly, but if I didn't, then the way I would word that is, I would not get into the habit of telling myself how big my problems were. I would tell my problems how big I am. Right? And that means how strong you are. The problem is that society would have you believe that you're weak. Society relishes the opportunity to convince you that you're weak, but when you buy the certain watch or the certain car, your problems will be fixed. Your self-esteem will be in balance, and all things will be well. And none of that is true. None of it's true.
Love that, dude. Love it. So I'm just going to put it out there.
Are we doing an Easter show on a Thursday night? I think we are. I think that's what's happening, because we're talking about a resurrection of spirit. We're talking about a resurrection of our lives, you know, resurrecting it from what it currently, what it has looked like, and resurrecting in it to be what it currently is. You know, we talked a lot about that today in the Zoom call, that the vast majority of people's opinions about their lives are formed on their past resume, their emotional resume. So they're looking at who they've been and what they've done to determine who they are. Let me say that again. They've looked at who they are, who they've been, and what they did to determine who they are. And that's like, you know, a butterfly trying to explain life to us through the lens of a caterpillar. And the butterfly cannot get on with flying if it keeps regaling everybody with its stories about being a caterpillar when it couldn't fly. So if there comes a time in our metamorphosis, our spiritual metamorphosis, when we have to accept that things are always evolving, and my life is evidence of that. Your life is evidence of that.
Yeah.
Most of you have long since become butterflies, but you're still telling people the stories of the pains of what it means to be a caterpillar, and you're not one. So all of the things you tell people about how somebody hurt you, they didn't hurt you. They hurt who you used to be.
So
They didn't hurt you. They didn't hurt this version of you.
At our, and I'm interrupting on purpose, so forgive
That's okay.
me.
I'm not getting upset about it on purpose. You like
So
that? You like
I love
that?
that. I love that. So at our first event we did in January, the inaugural outing of Ken and Glenn.
Boy, you slowed that down like you were a little bit drunk. You went the inaugural.
Yeah, inaugural.
Just
I
know
have a
you
hard
said it beautifully.
I have a hard time. So anyway, somebody, and we won't mention her name, but she said that she was abused as a child, and that it still messes with her, and boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, it chokes me up because you said something life changing and so profound in that moment that I know for a fact it changed her life and the lives of many people in that room in that instant.
Yeah,
And
what
and
you said
and
is
I had
I was,
hold on. I had people come up to me and tell me that moment was worth being at our event for the weekend. That one moment. And that moment was she had said that earlier in another conversation, and then you came up and started to give your talk, and you said, you said something earlier that you were abused as a child, and go ahead and tell everybody
well,
what
she
you
said
said.
I was abused. That was the language. I was abused. And I said, if I may, no, you weren't. She was. And the words you chose to use were that I was abused. I'll say it again. No, you weren't. She was. A previous version of yourself. And yet, listen to the message you're feeding your own subconscious mind. I was abused. I was abused. I was abused, which means me, right now, this version of me, I was abused. No, you weren't. She was. And that was the caterpillar version of you. And you're still telling the story as if it's going on right now when I'm staring at the wings you're not flapping. You're too busy telling me your caterpillar stories to start instead flapping your wings and being who it is you are. So if we quit presenting to the world that we are who we were, then we might actually figure out who it is we are.
Come on with it. Come on. You guys, listen. This is I wanted to get Glenn on here tonight publicly on live stream and give you guys a glimpse. And this is a 1% or less glimpse into what we will be delivering at our event April 6th and 7th. You can go to kenandglenn.com. The general admission tickets are only $97. And they're very limited because for 2 days. Yes, 2 days. Those
Ken,
are
you
very
can't even
limited.
see a monkey pee at the zoo for $97.
Nope. You can't. I
Every
mean,
so often there'll be a monkey that pees in front of all the attendees there at the zoo. And by the time you've had your zoo Cokes and your zoo popcorn and your zoo balloons and your membership to the Zoo Foundation, I'll promise you it'll cost you $97 to watch a monkey pee at the zoo.
There is not one other person in the world who's been in 273 movies and television shows that you can come. And if you get a VIP ticket, you get to have dinner and lunch with Glenn and I. On Friday, you get dinner Friday night. Saturday, you get lunch with us. Saturday night, you get dinner with us. And Sunday, you get lunch with us. And it's on us if you're a VIP. And you can't, there's not another celebrity on the planet that you can do that. Not one that you can do that for $997. And not only that, get to hang out with us and get the value that I am telling you. I told Cleona today, the CEO of Napoleon Hill Institute, she's like, oh my gosh, you guys only have 10 tickets left. I will make that happen in the next couple of days. They'll be gone. And she's not kidding. She literally will. So, look, this is not a joke. There are people that were at the last event that were in tears when it was over because they didn't want it to end. It is a magical, magical experience. Not one person will leave this event as the same person that they were when they walked in. Anything that you're holding on to, any fears, anything holding you back, you will have let go of by the time you leave. And it's going to be a small 30, 40 person event. So it's not going to be that many.
To guarantee that happens, that you leave as a different person. This is, I believe, our first time when we've introduced gender reassignment surgery to all attendees to guarantee that you will leave as someone other than you were when you arrived. I hope you're laughing. I hope you're smiling. I want to point out that we have Josh Mandrager.
I know, Josh.
And Josh is with us tonight. And Josh will be there. He will be playing music to soothe your soul. He is a massively talented young man who lives here in Texas, and not right in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, but out in East Texas.
Yeah.
And he is going to be driving in and blessing us with his music and blessing the audience with his soul. And Josh, thank you. We're excited about having you there, brother.
Yes, we are. And Victoria,
who is flying in from Switzerland
to be at our event, and she's gonna bang on the ivories because she literally can play the piano like you've never heard anyone play. She's just 20 years old and absolutely amazing. She's beautiful, and she's got a beautiful soul and heart. And Glenn says, I've not said this. This was Glenn. He said, this young lady literally makes love to the piano.
And
when he said that, I thought, well, that's a little bit of a perverted way to look at it, Glenn.
No,
but then I
see it, and then you go, she's making love to the piano.
I mean, it is unreal. It's phenomenal. So I'm really excited. Plus, we have Brad Sham, the voice of the Dallas Cowboys.
The voice of the Dallas Cowboys, Brad Sham, will be there.
Yeah.
And that's exciting, talking about how he step by step created his life being the life he dreamt of, being a sportscaster. So,
and now he's one of the best known sportscasters in the world. Like, he's known around the world. So,
we got good things happening.
$97. And Glenn wanted to make this also so some of his actors could afford to come to it as well. So, we really have put together a package that, and again, the $97, we have a room that'll hold maybe 35 people at the most. So, this stuff it's another day and we're done with tickets. I'm telling you, maybe 2 days, according to some things I've heard. So,
and for anyone who's thinking about coming in, once they stop with the excuse of, well, I live in Oklahoma City, and that is a 3-hour drive. My response is, we have someone coming in from Switzerland, and that tends to end that discussion.
And she's 20 years old.
But I do want to mention that if anyone is planning on watching the eclipse on the 8th, that's the day after our event. If you stay in on Sunday night, Texas is right there at the epicenter of the best viewing there will be of the eclipse.
Yep.
This particular type of eclipse is not scheduled to happen for another 400 years. Now, there may be those of you who are planning to still be here for that one. And I commend and salute your optimism.
Right.
I truly do. I think that's exciting. I don't know why you would ever even bother with Social Security if you're planning to live to be 400. But it won't be coming back until that time, which would be, that would be 2424. And that number was very good to me, Ken.
Wow. Yeah.
24. Yeah. Wow. But it's not going to be happening for many, many years. So whether you're in Dallas or wherever you are, be sure to get your eclipse glasses for your eye protection and take a glance at this heavenly event, which happens between, well, it goes on for a few hours, but the exciting part of it, where it's at total eclipse, will be between like 1:20 and 1:25 p.m. On that day.
So everybody watching, go to KenandGlenn.com, get your tickets, and we will see you next. If you're a VIP, we'll see you next Friday, which is exciting because we're going to go have dinner and have some fun. And if you're general admission, we'll see you on Saturday morning, and come prepared to have your life completely changed. I mean, literally, it's going to rock your world. So, Glenn, is there anything else you'd like to share?
No, man, I'm jacked up. It's springtime. Spring's exciting. The Texas Rangers won their home opener, and we're up and running for a time of rebirth. I think the timing of it is great, that it's right here at the gateway to spring. It's interesting. My birthday is during the birth time of the year, and Carolyn's is in October, which is when all the beautiful leaves are changing and everything. And we're exactly 6 months apart from each other with our birth dates. And I just love that. I love springtime. So thank you, buddy. And blessings to all of you guys. And we look forward to seeing you there on the 6th and 7th of April.
See you guys next week. Get in here. Get to Dallas. Come on in. Let's do this. See you guys. Thanks, brother.